Faith, family, film. We are the family. Oh,
we are the family.
Faith, family, film. We are the family. Oh,
We are the family.
Hey, you guys.
What's up?
This is
Marvin
and Amber, and we're with the
Family
Family O. And we are here with another podcast. Today, you guys, we are going to be talking about giving.
Giving?
Yes, giving. And, you know, the reason why we decided to talk about this is because it's something that comes up a lot in conversation.
It does.
It does, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, when we talk about giving, we're talking about the ideal that no matter where you are in life, no matter how much money you have, there's always someone that you can bless.
The good book says it's better to give than to receive.
That's
and so
right.
I think this episode for me is going to be very important for me to talk about all the ways that one can give and just exactly how that looks.
Exactly. A lot of times when we're thinking about giving, you all, we think about monetary giving most of the time, but there are so many ways that you can give, and you may not be at a place where you can give money, you know, at any rate. So it's so many different things you can do, such as give of your time. You can give of information like resources. And of course, you can give monetary gifts as well. So we'll start with time, giving of time. When I think about that, I think about when I was a young girl, and in my neighborhood where I grew up, one of the parents there actually worked at a nursing home. And it was such a cool experience, you all, because every Saturday, literally every Saturday, her daughters, myself, my little sister, and another neighbor would go and volunteer at this nursing home. And we would do things such as do bingo with the elderly people. We would paint their nails. We would do their hair. We would do makeup, facials, all sorts of things with these different residents. And it was just such an amazing experience that I keep telling Babe all the time. I'm like, we have to find a way to go volunteer at some type of nursing home and like give Libby that same experience, because y'all, those people they would be so excited to see us every single weekend. Like their face would just light up when they would see these little kids, you know, coming into this facility and just giving of our time. And it didn't cost us anything. And we were able to really, really, really sow into these people. Because a lot of them, you know, their families had put them in this nursing home because unfortunately, you know, some of their families didn't want to have to deal with them on a day-to-day basis, or, you know, some of them didn't have the time to do so. And so a lot of them were really lonely.
And they probably felt forgotten about.
Yeah, a lot of them did. They really did. I mean, there were some families that were amazing. Like a lot of times when we'd be there, we would see their families there as well. It was one lady, Miss Susie. I think she lived to be like 102 years old, y'all.
Wow.
Yeah, she was so with it and moving and kicking and everything. And, you know, eventually she did pass away, but her family was very supportive and always there. But a lot of the residents at this nursing home, you know, you could tell that we were like their surrogate grandchildren, if you will. It just really put a smile on their face and just made them feel loved.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely volunteering, I think, is the easiest thing. I mean, if you don't have money, you don't have resources, you have yourself.
Yeah.
And that is definitely, there's always somewhere that you can volunteer at.
Definitely.
There's always somewhere. I mean, we used to, before having lived, I remember we volunteered at the Star of Hope.
Yeah, in Houston, Texas.
In Houston, and it was so funny because, we were not in the best place financially at the time, and I was there trying to sneak a plate out. I was like, we don't mind volunteering as long as we can get a plate ourselves.
Oh my goodness.
But, I think that for that person out there that feels like they're just not where they want to be, going to volunteer at a nursing home or at a shelter,
a school,
a
library,
you'll always see how blessed you truly are,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
how no matter how bad you think you got it, there's always somebody that got a little bit worse.
Always. Yeah, you can never look at your situation and think, oh, there's nothing I can do to be a blessing to someone else, because it's always someone. That saying is so true.
Yeah.
It's always someone that has it worse than you. If you just talk to people, I know sometimes as we're moving about, babe, we'll come in contact with people that just for some reason they feel comfortable sharing a lot of times their stories and things with us. And so we always, when we debrief after talking with that person or those people, we always think about like, wow, babe, like it helps us to put things into perspective, that we were able to listen to someone and see that, wow, you know what, when we woke up today, we were thankful for our life, XYZ came our way, but look at what this person is going through. Like this is, we're nowhere, where this person is. So it gives you a heart of gratitude as well when you give in different ways like that with your time. It just does. You just never know who needs you at a given time. I was telling Babe the other day, Liberty had a play date, and the lady that we had a play date with, it was her and her children, and we, Babe and Liberty actually were going for a walk one day in the neighborhood, and they stumbled upon this little girl, and it was her mom, and she had a little brother, and so on and so forth. And so we ended up getting on the phone and planning this play date. And when we were having a play date, I was telling Babe how, the kids were on the playground playing, and we were watching them, but we were also conversing about different things. And y'all, it was the craziest thing. This is the first time I met this lady. But she actually started crying and telling me, I really needed this.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, because this was just about the kids. It really wasn't about us. It was like, okay, here's, their playmates, or the little girl was the same age as Liberty is. And it just, was kind of a perfect situation. And literally she was like, she needed, just this conversation and just this dialogue that was taking place. And so that ties back into time, and I didn't know that that's how God was going to use that scenario, but, there was still a blessing in the midst of it all.
Yeah. And as we kind of, and it's so weird to say this, but as we're getting older, which is so weird.
Why is that weird, babe?
Because I still feel 18. I don't feel old, but these gray hairs that keep popping up in this beard tell me otherwise. But, as we are getting older and we come across individuals, couples or whatever that are younger than us or at a different stage in their relationship, they might be newly married or been married a little while and just in a different phase that we've already crossed through. We can be a light and be and kind of tell our story about how we have to, as a married couple, I'm only speaking to married folks at this point, you might want to focus on your spouse more than your job, more than your friends, more than, having a girls trip or a fellas trip. And that is volunteering of our time in a form of ministry
I love that,
to other couples. And I feel like social media makes, if you're not going into some cave in Honduras, then you're not really volunteering. Or if you're not feeding starving children in Botswana, then you're not really doing real volunteer work. But, they say all the time, charity starts at home
and spreads
abroad.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to impact, like I was just saying, a couple, a younger couple that you guys can take under you, that you could take under your wing, or what are you doing to impact that coworker that's new to the job? if it's my babe's field, for example, as a teacher, they could be a new teacher that's kind of drowning.
Yeah.
and about to just snatch
Quit.
up one of these kids.
Yes.
And my job, is always someone that we can impact, just by offering that time and
That's right.
mentoring and giving, and saying, hey, look, this is how I dealt with this. And it may help them. It may be exactly what they needed to hear. If not, it could at least be a seed that hopefully the next person that they come across will water. So
I love that.
That's what I think. And I think another way, just moving right along, that we can give is give of our resources. And when I tell you guys, I consider myself, I tell Babe, she's already laughing because she knows what I'm about to say. I tell Babe that I am the king of useless information. I really am. I mean, it's so much that I know about stuff that doesn't even matter in the grand scheme of things, but it's interesting to me. So, prime example, I know how to say que tenga buen día, which in Spanish it's thank you, have a nice day. And that's because a long time ago I worked in a customer service field where I dealt with a lot of Spanish speakers, and that was from the spirit of being very courteous. You want to say, have a nice day. But if you're saying it to a person that doesn't speak English, they just smile and walk away. But if you actually say, que tenga buen día, which I heard one of my coworkers say, they light up. They're like, persona. You speaking Spanish?
Yeah.
Español. So, it was useless until it became useful. And that's why I say I'm the king of useless information until it becomes useful. So, if you knew me growing up, I always knew how to find a job.
Yeah.
Still do. I was always, and I still am, I'm always about the next hustle and the next opportunity that presents itself. So even when I was gainfully employed, I was always looking at the want ads and looking at the career pages. If you guys remember, I don't know if every city has a green sheet.
Oh, yeah.
But the green sheet was in Houston. That was like the go-to place that you could find a job in any kind of entry-level type of position. And I was always just kind of keeping an eye on that. So if I had a friend of mine that lost their job, I would tell them, hey, look, this place is hiring for telemarketers. That was the big job back in the day, telemarketing, customer service, at least in Houston. They're hiring on the spot, give them a call, and these people will come back and say, hey, Marvin, hey, I got hired. I was like, cool, and so it was a blessing for those individuals. And even when I would, because I did go through jobs a lot, I could not stay gainfully employed to save my life. But of course, you're a teenager, so it's, it's just one job to the next.
Yeah.
But for me, learning as much as you can and just storing it in your mental in some capacity, and it coming out to help unlock the next opportunity for someone else, that always blesses me. Like I love, and I tell Babe all the time, I love connecting the dots for people. That's my form of ministry. If I can help you in any way, shape, form, or fashion with information, that I feel like is going to be more impactful for you than giving you a fish. Teaching people how to fish has always been the way that I approach things. And to be honest, if I could be frank, it's because I don't want you coming to me. I want you to know how to ride that bicycle so that I don't have to keep pushing you on your training wheels. But, I think that we serve people better when we give them the tools to build their house to be successful. Because I know, and my baby's the same way, we know the most efficient ways to do the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. We know the most efficient ways to clean our house, for example, or the most efficient route to work every day. Because you can take a GPS, but even if you don't have a GPS, if you do the same thing enough times, you can pretty much do it with your eyes closed.
Very true.
Is that correct?
Very true.
So for the next person, giving of your resources and, not just giving them information and then just kicking them in the butt out the door, but walking them through it, I think is helpful in giving in the spirit of giving, you know, because if you truly are giving, then you're going to not just give the information, but you're going to give the application.
Exactly.
And how they can apply it to their life and how the certain processes that you went through goes, you know, for success. Prime example, with our move here to Atlanta, we get emails quite often with people asking us questions about, you know, how we went about it, what are the best parts of town to live in, and, you know, the various ways that we went about our move here. And we've done several videos. If you are on YouTube, you can see several videos documenting our transition to Atlanta. We did a movie on traveling to Africa, Journey to the Motherland. You should look it up. It's almost got 100,000 views. Nice little plug right there. But all of these things, in a sense, are us giving what worked for us and documenting that. And we may not get an email from the majority of the people that have been impacted by us sharing the resources and the tips and the strategies that made our move to Atlanta, our trip to Africa, as seamless as it appeared on camera. Of course, that's some good editing, but we tend to focus on the positive, and we're going to tell you these are the ways that we went about doing it in a positive manner. Your mileage may vary, as they always say on you know, car commercials, but at least you know how we did it, and you can say, okay, that will work for me, that won't work for me, but at least you'll have a guide.
Exactly.
And a way to go about doing that. I mean, does that kind of make sense to you?
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, I definitely agree that, you know, we have to use what God has given us, you know, to be able to help people, you know, to be able to, as what we're talking about, give to other people. You can't just keep everything to yourself, I feel, especially if you know someone is yearning for answers in a certain direction and you have that, or at least something that you've done that worked for you, it could possibly work for someone else as well. I was just thinking a moment ago, babe, when you were talking about just being the king of useless information. It's funny because literally, you guys, most of our family members, I want to say all, but at least most of them literally will contact Marvin for like different random things because they know that he, you know, he really takes pride in just gaining a wealth of information, whether it's through reading or just research in general. So it's funny, he is that go-to person. And I was just thinking, you know, anytime there's any type of question, literally we have like group text with our family and stuff, and people will put a question in there. And what's funny, usually 9 times out of 10, Marvin will be the first one that will respond, you know, with some type of answer, or at least leading you to where you can go to get that answer.
You know, you just remind me, Amber's mom bought a car not too long ago, and she was at the dealership, and she was calling me.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so hilarious because I tell babe all the time, you know, and many of you guys don't know this, but we have 2 cars paid off. One is a 2005 Lexus and a 2008 Camry. Those are the cars we have, and they run perfectly fine. The reason that we have had those cars for nearly 5 years now is because I hate going to the car dealership. I hate it. I do not like the experience. I feel like car salespeople, if you're listening to this and you sell cars, I'm talking to everybody else except you. But most car salesmen are very snaky, slimy, and they're just trying to, you know, get you into a car with a ridiculous, you know, interest rate. But as long as you have payments of $200 a month, then that's all that matters to you as the buyer, not knowing that you're paying a whole bunch of interest. So anywho, I was walking mom, you know, I'll just call her mom, through the process. And, you know, she didn't know a lot about what to say, how to say it. And then, of course, being a woman, you know, she felt like she might be taken advantage of if she doesn't arm herself with some level of information. And so for me, even though I despise going into car dealerships, I know how they work because I have a sales background. And so we already know when you're going to buy a car, and this is a tip for anybody, go with your own financing already. Go to your local credit union, open an account, have it for like 3 months or whatever, and as long as you have solid credit or you're working towards solid credit, a credit union is going to be the best place to go to get financing for your car. So that again, is a resource. Yep. That's useless information because we have paid off cars, but we opened a credit union account here in Georgia as one of our bank accounts just for that benefit. I told Babe, I was like, we got to get a credit union account because that's the best place to get if we ever did want to get a car financed. So she came in with that level of knowledge, and her local credit union gave her an approval. So that was one way that she wasn't able to get taken advantage of by the car dealership. And they were like, well, we could probably do better. But I told her, I said, Mom, nobody's going to do better for you than a credit union, period. And so she was empowered based on information I was able to present and the knowledge and other tips and tricks and things I told her to look out for. And she's very happy with the car that she purchased. But that would not have happened if one of us didn't have the knowledge to be able to share, to say, hey, this is the way to go about buying a car and not getting taken advantage of.
And being willing to give the information. Because, sometimes we'll have information and we won't even help people.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
So you have to be willing also to give when you know something, when you know you've been blessed with an ability or whatever it is. Be willing to share.
That's true.
Right?
I agree.
All right, babe. So we're going to move to the last point on giving that we want to discuss for this podcast.
That's the cheddar cheese money.
The money. Yeah. Yes. So when we think about giving with money, first, I just want to start out by saying we are a tithing household. And for those of you that may not be familiar with tithing, it just basically means that we take the first 10th of our income that we bring home and we sow into our local church, which our church that we go to, which is Victory World Church. And we believe in the Bible and what it says about giving. And so we do tithe. And the money that we've been blessed to make as a living, we believe that money belongs to God. So it's like we're working for it, but ultimately He's the one that's equipped us to work. He's the one that has, blessed us with the job and the ability and so on and so forth. So ultimately it's His money. So Marvin and I, basically under that principle have learned that we definitely, have given a lot, to whomever may have needed it. But we kind of have this understanding that if we're going to give you money, it's not a loan. We're giving it to you, and that's that. So it's like if we can't, the word I'm trying to use, if we can't,
use us, but don't abuse us.
That too. But if we can't comfortably give you the money without being like, oh man, I need this back.
Like if we think we'll need it,
exactly, then we weren't going to give it. That's number one. So we don't loan money. We just either we have it and we give it to you or not.
And it's a gift.
It's a gift. There you go. The other part to that, though, however, as I was just mentioning about the fact that we look at our money as God's money, is that what we've learned throughout the years, and it took us a little time to get here, not too long, but we finally learned that you cannot give money every single time to people when they ask, because you have what I like to call repeat offenders, where they are basically not being responsible with what they've been blessed with. And so because of that, they're constantly coming to you asking for resources in the form of money. And so what we've learned is that we have to basically put limitations on that giving. We can't, like I tell Babe all the time, it's hard for us to just not give. Like we've learned it about ourselves. It's hard for us to like just not give. Like it's weird to not give.
And for me, a lot of people used to say, Marvin, you're cheap, or Marvin, you're tight, and stuff like that. And I've learned. I think it's because I've been burned over the years in a lot of ways. But that still doesn't. That hadn't hardened my heart as it relates to giving of information. So here's the thing. The three categories we talked about, time, resources, and that's knowledge and information, and then money. If you can give more, if you can give all, that's great. If you can give 2 out of 3, that's cool too. And if you can do 1, that's good. So there's good, what's the way it goes? Good, great.
And better, maybe?
Yeah, good, better, great.
Great, okay.
Yeah, good, better, great. So 2 out of 3 good would be 1 out of 3. better would be two out of three. And then great would be all three.
Yeah.
And if you're able to do all three, congrats. You are you're doing what
you're a super giver.
You're a super giver.
Yeah.
Perfect. So for me, I've had to pull back over the years from the monetary and drill down a little bit more on the first two, which is time and resources, because for one, you know, we just didn't have it. You know, the Lord has been, He sustained us in a lot of ways, and He continues to sustain us at this point. But we're doing a lot better now at this stage. 17 years together, 11 years married. I'm glad I got that right. I saw, y'all don't see this on camera, but babe nodded her head. I said, yeah, that's what I thought. 17 and 11. But anywho.
He knows.
But anywho, you know, we've gone through different phases. And I'd say we've touched pretty much every phase
definitely.
Of what a marriage goes through, you know, from the financial to the spiritual to the emotional. We've gone through all of those. And I feel like we're at a cruise control stage at this point, which is a blessing to get to. But the money part has been very, very difficult throughout our time together. Many of you will be surprised to learn that Babe and I have worked jobs together. Even when we were dating, we've always been together. If we weren't working, that's really the only time that we're not around each other. Outside of that, we're always together. We're best friends, and I just like being around her. She likes being around me. Even when we get on each other's nerves, we get on each other's nerves.
But we gonna do it together.
Right? And so, you know, with that being said, you know, we're at certain stages in life where a $200 check between the both of us, that might as well have been $2,000.
I know, babe.
You know, we've worked so many odd jobs together, and we've just seen different stages of money. And I'll just say now things are moving in a more positive direction. Thank and praise God.
Amen.
But during those times, we still tithed. During those times, we still gave. We may not have had a lot to give,
but we still gave.
And now is no different. And that's the thing, I feel like, when you are increased in that area, and if you have a quote-unquote abundance, which abundance is really subjective, because
that's true.
If you're like us, you're dealing with Sally Mae. So there's always somebody that's got their hand out when we get paid, you know, every 2 weeks or whatever the case is. But we still find ways to give. And, you know, there have been times where it's like, okay, do we have enough money to tithe? And, you know, that's a question we'll say, but Babe will be like, well, look, you know, we got to do it. So we got to figure it out. And that's just how we roll, is that we believe that as long as we're doing one of the three, then we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. If we can do two of the three, great. If we can do all three, then that's fantastic. But there's always something that you can do for somebody.
Definitely,
and it doesn't just have to be money. And this goes out to those of us out there, if you're listening to this and you're a multimillionaire, and people have all of these expectations on what they think you should be doing with your money, I tip my hat off to you guys to be able to tell people no, because if you're like a Puff Daddy or a ball player where people are literally counting your coins for you, it's tough, because people have expectations. They don't know about taxes. They don't know about expenses. They don't know about obligations that you have. And quite frankly, they don't care. They don't care. They want what they want. And you have to be wise enough to discern what help is and what help isn't. So what's an example of what help isn't, sweetheart?
That's a really good question, babe. I think we kind of touched on it a little bit ago, you know, just dealing with the giving of money. Like I said, those kind of like repeat offender people where, you know, people are being very frivolous with what they've been blessed with. To me, that's a situation where you have to really, really, you know, use discernment. You know, you have to use discernment. You have to use the Holy Spirit to guide you, because for me, honestly, I used to be to the point where I would just, like, from a financial standpoint, constantly just giving. Like, I didn't even question it, really. I would just be like, okay, here you go.
Even if you didn't have it.
Here you go. Hardly have it, yeah. And what I learned was, and y'all, this was really tough, when we were, let's see, it was 2007, college, and then that was right when the recession happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, wow, we really learned that, honey, you ain't have nobody but Jesus. Because, you know, here and there we had a little bit of support, but overall,
we were on our own.
We were on our own. And one thing that we learned during that time was when the Lord blesses us and gets us out of this rut, because we were fresh out of college and we could not find a career, y'all. We just couldn't. It was so hard. And that's kind of what Babe was talking about a moment ago about the little odd jobs and things we were doing.
Yeah, we had to do what we had to do.
Exactly. We wasn't making a whole lot of money, but we were making some money, thank God. So at any rate, when we were going through that time, you guys, it's like the Lord was just molding us and showing us how to be, we thought we were responsible, but really showing us how to be responsible with our money. And so, once we got on our feet, so to speak, and things started to change for us financially, we wanted to be able to be a blessing to people and help people. At the same time, we started noticing patterns with different people in our lives.
For sure.
And, you know, we just started really having to reevaluate, like, this whole just giving you money just because, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's like, now, wait a minute. You know, we don't want to abuse the money we've been blessed with. We want to make sure we're being good stewards of what God has given us,
Absolutely.
right? And so I think that we started seeing that when you're dealing with people, I guess to really answer your question, Babe, because I kind of went backwards a little bit, but when you see that there are people in your life that are repeatedly asking for money for especially the same stuff or even different stuff, you really want to talk with them and go a little bit deeper and see what's going on.
Right.
You know, don't be so quick to just dish out money, because the thing that we've learned is that can really be habitual. Like, it will just happen over and over again where same people will just keep asking and asking and asking. And for us, it doesn't matter that we have the money, you know. It's more about, are we giving this money in a wise manner? Because if I'm giving, my babe like makes this example all the time. I think it's about the person that's drunk or something like that.
Giving a drunk a drink.
Drunk a drink, yeah. You know, you don't give a drunk a drink. So sometimes there are people that do have issues with spending money, you know.
And they won't tell you, nor is it officially diagnosed.
Yes.
But you can see the pattern.
There's a pattern, exactly. So that would be an example, babe, basically of not just, you know, giving money in a situation where it's not being fruitful.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you have to use discernment. You have to use discernment. What is discernment? Discernment is your gut.
Exactly.
The Holy Spirit.
Yes.
You know, whatever you want to call it. We call it the Holy Spirit.
Exactly.
But it's that feeling of, okay, am I sowing this seed into good soil, or am I just playing to a hero complex that I have in my mind, where I feel like I have to be the one to save everybody, and I have it, so that means I need to give it because somewhere in the Bible, you know, and that's a lot of times even amongst us Christian folk, that, you know, people manipulate the word for everything. They did it during slavery.
Yes.
They did it at several points in history.
Yep.
People manipulate the word for their gain.
Exactly.
So we talk about how you have to study to show thyself approved. And that's scripture. And it talks about, you know, that I don't know the exact scripture, but it basically says only a fool would co-sign for someone else. And it's basically saying, loosely translated, don't put anything under credit for somebody else.
Exactly.
Now, if this is God telling you this through the word, you know, we have to take a step back and just be wise. And I'm not saying to not, and we're not saying in this because we're really drilling down on this money part, because this is what we've dealt with the most. As the months have turned to years, and the years have turned to nearly decades at this point. But when we didn't have, we gave, and when we have, we still gave. But what I've just learned is when you have, you just really, really have to be wise.
You have to be extremely wise.
You have to be a good steward, because at the end of the day, like Babe said, this is not our money. This is God's money.
Exactly.
And it can't just be that one category that people lean on you consistently. If you're out there and you're a doctor and you're the only doctor in your family, people may assume that you just got it.
Exactly.
Not knowing that you might have $300,000 of student loans out there that you're still working through. If you are the basketball player, people just assume, hey, heard you got that big contract. Let me borrow $10,000.
Who borrows $10,000?
Yeah,
how you gonna get that back?
Or let me start this. Let me get some money so I can start this business so I can do for myself. You just hear all sorts of stuff, and people really mean well. I'm sorry, people really think they mean well, but at the end of the day, they just see you as a bank.
A bank is so true,
and they get a great interest rate. Usually, it's a 0% interest rate. And you know what? If they decide not to ever pay you back, that's okay. Yeah. They just won't show up for Thanksgiving dinner, so it's not awkward. But just use your discernment. Just realize, again, that if anyone is coming to you for any one of those three categories, remind yourself that although you may not be able to help in that specific category, you've got two other ways that you can give. If you don't have the money, you can give resources. If you don't have the resources, you can give time. If you don't have one or the other, there's always something that you have a lot to play with.
Exactly, yeah. And another thing I wanted to point out, just to kind of, as we're wrapping up this conversation, is that don't ever think just because you're not where you want to be, that you cannot give. Because where we are, like Babe said a moment ago, we're blessed in the place where we are now. It didn't come overnight, but we've always been blessed, but just financially, we're more blessed than we've been in the past. And I think that there's a tendency that we've kind of noticed with some people around us that feel because we're where we are that, we can really give because look where we are. And I can't give because look where I am. And it's like, no, the Bible doesn't say it's more blessed to give than receive for those that have a lot of money. It just says that it is more blessed to give than to receive, period. So wherever you are in life, you guys, the great thing about it is that when you bless other people, you're going to be blessed back. It's called karma. Whatever you give is what's going to come back, and you reap what you sow. That's in the Bible. You reap what you sow. Whatever you're giving is what you're going to receive back. So if you're holding on to your money because you're like, oh my goodness, I don't have as much money as I want, I can't give now, then you might want to rethink that, because guess what? It's always something you can do for someone, even if it's going to Starbucks and buying someone a refresher, for example, something. It doesn't have to be anything big. Sewing into someone, giving someone $5 to go get them a sandwich,
Paying for somebody's groceries.
Yeah, paying for someone's groceries. We've done that a few times. We have done it. And it's weird when that happens though too, because people are like, huh? Because we're not used to that. But it's always something you can do, you guys, at whatever level you're at financially. Sure. Like Babe said, there's those other ways you can give, but just from a financial standpoint as well, you can still give and help someone out. It doesn't have to be, sometimes you can't really do to people that's close to you. It might be a stranger, but don't ever miss out on an opportunity to bless someone through giving, whatever way possible that you can.
Absolutely. And we've given you 3 ways that you can do it. And we're excited that you hopefully feel a lot more free to say, you know what, I got money, but you know what, I can give of my resources, I can give of my time. I don't have a lot of money is what I meant to say, or I don't have a lot of time, but you know what, I can help you research and learn how to get your resume together so that you can find a job. So
that's
that
right.
Even though I don't have the money to give you, I can help you get a job so you can go get some money.
There you go.
You just gotta. If people don't know how to think out of the box, you have to help them think out of the box by thinking out of the box for them. And that's been the exciting thing. And we've learned a lot, and we've been blessed by people. For me personally, I would much rather get someone's resources and how they did certain things. Like, what was your methodology? How did you approach this? Like, I think the internet, and I promise we're done after this, but I think YouTube has been just the biggest blessing. At this point, it's more useful for everyday individuals than college, in my opinion. You know, you can learn how to start a business. You can learn how to fix a car. You can learn pretty much anything from YouTube.
You can, yeah.
And that's what the resource part is. If a person wants to know about how to, you know,
build a birdhouse,
says they want to start a birdhouse business, I'm sure there's a YouTube video for that.
Yeah.
So, but we hope you enjoyed this podcast, guys. It's very, very late when we're recording this, so that's why you don't hear Liberty right now. But we wanted to get on here and just share this with you guys. We hope you enjoyed it. Expect more podcasts. We're going to try to do this on a weekly basis.
Yes.
That's the goal. But if you get some value from this podcast and you're listening to this on iTunes, do us a huge favor and leave us a positive review on iTunes. A 5-star review is greatly, greatly appreciated. Follow us on Instagram at @the_family_o. And, of course, we're on YouTube, The Family O. Check us out there. And anything else?
No, we just appreciate you guys listening.
All right. Well, this is Marvin.
And Amber. And we're with The Family O.
Peace.
Peace.